I was really interested by this spinning pipe riddle that you posed, and I wanted to give my own insight about the shape that appears, because I realized after thinking about it that not only is the shape that you did not press invisible, and not only is the shape that you did press down on visible, but it's actually not moving at all relative to the table, at least in theory. It's moving not just a little bit slower than the other symbol, but for all intents and purposes it's stopped relative to the table and relative to your eyes. So let me try to give an argument for why that must be the case. So the first thing I want you to realize is that when the pipe spins, so let's use this cup as an example, the part that's in contact with the table has no velocity because that point is held by friction against the table. So of course, in the real world it's going to slip and all sorts of effects. But for the sake of argument, let's imagine that it is motionless when it's touching the table because it has the condition of not slipping, right? So what I'd like to convince you now of is what would happen if we placed your piece of glass parallel to the table down onto this side of the cup or of the pipe. Would the pipe still manage to spin in principle? Would it be turning in the correct direction so that the top part would be allowed to roll on the plate of glass at the same time that the bottom part is rolling against the table, right? I say yes, it will. So let's just think about that for a moment. You kind of have to convince yourself with a real thing. So let's say that the part that's touching the table is rolling toward me, right? Well, we saw in the slow motion that the cup is actually turning about a vertical axis as well. So let's take the case where it's rolling toward me on the part that's touching the table. And if that happens, the top part of the cup is rolling toward me as well. And that means that this part of the cup is also rolling toward me. But it's also moving this way. So even though the cup is rotating, it's also revolving about a vertical axis, and those two effects will cancel each other. So I say the cup will spin as if, in theory, there is a piece of glass sandwiching the cup between it and the table, okay? The reason I think this is a valuable observation is it means that whichever side you're looking from, you will see the symbol that is touching the plane that's closer to you. Why? Because if it's rolling without slipping, then that means that its speed is 0 relative to the plate or the table, which is not moving relative to your eye. So you will see a stationary object. You will see a stationary X or a stationary O. And that also explains why you see the O from the bottom, because if the X is on this side rotating around, then the O is on this side rotating around. And so when you have your table down here, or it's a glass in this case, and you're looking from below, you will see the symbol that is in contact with the plane that's closer to you, right? By my reasoning. So you will see the O shape. So that's another way of thinking about it, I guess. Thanks.